Hi guys, welcome to Train Forever. I'm Andrew Barr, and today we're going to be discussing muscular strength versus muscular endurance, how to train to develop each one, as well as explore the relationship between the two, which might surprise you. So what is muscular strength? It's the ability to produce or absorb force. We usually think of it in terms of maximal force, like how much can you bench, how much can you squat. Endurance is the ability to produce a submaximal amount of force over a period of time. A common example would be a max push-up test. Somebody who can do 50 push-ups would have better muscular endurance than somebody who can do 20 push-ups. We know exactly how to train to develop strength. We focus on compound lifts like squats, deadlifts, and presses. We work generally in a lower rep zone, often 3 to 5. Training sessions are more intense, less frequent. We take full rest breaks to facilitate recovery, and muscle failure is avoided. Now, you might think that the best way to train to develop endurance would be to do a lot of ultra high rep, low load training, like sets of 50 or even 100 for various movements. And while that absolutely will develop your endurance capability, what if I told you that one of the best ways to develop endurance was to train for strength? Let's use a popular test to examine this by the numbers. If you're familiar with the NFL Combine, you've seen the athletes complete the max reps on a bench press test, where they do as many reps as possible with 225 pounds, and the top athletes complete 30 or more repetitions. Objectively, this is a test of muscular endurance, but the strongest athletes fare the best. Why? If one of the athletes has a max bench of 500 pounds, then that 225 pounds represents only 45% of their max. Whereas another athlete who might have a max bench of 350 pounds, that same 225 pounds represents 65% of their max. Therefore, each rep is that much more challenging, represents a greater fraction of their capabilities, and is therefore more fatiguing. So, by increasing our max strength ability, we reduce the demands on the system at all submaximal intensities, and are therefore able to do more work across any number of reps, and that is improved endurance. You can see this depicted in the chart here. The stronger lifter, who has a 400-pound max, is going to be stronger across all repetitions than a lifter who has a lower max. I do need to clarify that there are two types of muscular endurance, absolute and relative. So far we've been talking about absolute endurance, which is your ability to do work at a given load, like that max bench press test where each athlete lifts the 225 pounds. Relative endurance is your ability to do work at a percentage of your max where the test is adjusted to your ability. So if somebody had a max of 200 pounds on a given lift, we might test their endurance with 100 pounds, 50% of their max. If another lifter was to complete the same test, but they had a max of 300 pounds on that same lift, we would use 150 pounds to measure their same endurance ability. And although relative endurance is probably a more accurate reflection of somebody's true endurance ability, this particular quality doesn't have much bearing on health, performance, or anything else that we would be interested in developing through training. You're not going to beat your opponent because you're relatively better than them at a given task. If you're finding this content useful and informative, give me a like and make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be putting out a new video each week to help you get the most out of your training sessions. I really appreciate your support. For whatever reason, you might not care about your max strength ability. It might not interest you having a big bench or a big squat. But max strength capability has implications far beyond the weight room. Strength is highly relevant for healthy aging. When an older adult loses the ability to get up out of a chair or to walk upstairs, that is a reflection of the deterioration in their strength, not endurance. Developing a higher level of strength in early adulthood sets you up better for healthy aging and will allow you to maintain functional independence for a longer period of time. Strength is also highly relevant for injury prevention. The cause of every acute injury is the tissue is being exposed to forces higher than its tolerance to absorb force. So stronger tissues are more able to avoid being strained, sprained, or broken when they're put in compromising positions. And of course, strength is relevant for sport. It should be obvious that in any competitive setting, it's useful to be stronger than your opponent. There is more to muscular endurance than simply having a highly developed strength capacity, and which results in all submaximal tasks representing a lower level of your capability. Things like buffering capacity, the ability to deliver oxygen to working tissues and to clear waste products. These are going to have big implications on endurance-based tasks as well. But those physiological qualities can be very readily developed through aerobic training, and whether that looks like running, cycling, intervals, circuit training, developing your aerobic system through those methods, combined with having a well-developed level of strength, will allow you to excel in endurance-based tasks without completely focusing your training on that endurance style. At a certain point, it does make sense to specialize. If you want to break the world record for most consecutive push-ups, at a certain point you're going to need to train specifically for that task. But outside of a very specific endurance-based objective, it's not in your best interest to design your training that way because of muscular endurance's limited transfer and applicability to both health and performance domains. Drop me a comment and let me know if you agree, or if you think I'm full of it, or if you just have a question about training. I'll be happy to answer every one. So what did we learn? Absolute muscular endurance is really a secondary measure of maximum strength. Relative endurance is a more accurate reflection of endurance ability, but this ability isn't particularly relevant for either health or performance-based outcomes. Focusing your training on strength will do more for you than focusing your training on endurance. If you specifically want to develop your endurance capability, you can absolutely structure your training with that in mind, but just be sure that that is what you want out of your training. Doing quality strength training plus developing your aerobic system will give you great results, plus it will position you to be successful for training for the long term, which is what it's all about. I hope you thought this was interesting, and if you did, please give me a like, leave a comment, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you check out the description, you'll see links to my free guide to developing core strength, as well as to Strength Training Essentials, my 12-week program specifically designed for beginners, and you can find information about my online coaching as well. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.